proud presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game. Big Ten champions. Big Ten champs.
National champions, yes.
Oklahoma City bound the Oregon Ducks.
Awesome day to be a Duck, man.
Booming side. Touchdown Oregon. He gets loose. Fires. Hit. Pops the three. Oh, yeah. It's all Oregon.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider.
It's about how to be a group of people that know how to love each other to the absolute fullest.
Pleasure, joy to be with them each and every day. And I can't wait for the future.
It's just fun to be a part of a community that cares, that is passionate, and when we come together, powerful things can happen.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Now let's go live to the Country Financial Studio to talk Oregon Duck athletics.
It is game week number 2. The Ducks are getting ready for Oklahoma State. It's a 12:30 kickoff Saturday at Autzen Stadium. It'll be on CBS. We will have a 10:30 pregame show for you across the Oregon Sports Network. We'll talk with Coach Lanning, among others. Men's basketball with a non-conference game against Gonzaga coming your way in December. We'll talk about that today, among many other subjects, with Athletic Director Rob Mullens. He'll be with us, as well as Oregon Volleyball head coach Trent Kersten. But without further ado, because he met with the media for about 16 minutes in his weekly press conference on Monday, Oregon football head coach Dan Lanning today, brought to you by the Willamette Valley Cancer Institute and Research Center. Better cancer care close to home. Coach Lanning at home.
All right. Certainly was a fun game on Saturday. Proud of our guys' effort. Really appreciative to our fans who always show up and show out. Unbelievable job by them. It was a great atmosphere. It always feels good to be back in Autzen, and grateful for some former Ducks making a commitment to this next week, getting to have some young guys in the stands there with us, with Marcus and his foundation, Justin, Sabrina, all the work that goes on outside. Creating opportunities for others is part of what makes this place so great. So
you highlighted on Saturday play with that Dante made where he didn't force the ball in that third and goal. I'm curious, after watching film, but are there any other moments that really stood out to you that showed his growth specifically in that game?
Yeah, I mean there was several. There were several plays. The big catch by Jay there over the middle, that was an opportunity for him to redirect the protection and slide it away from a load front, which is pretty unique. But he did a great job there and was able to hit an angle route there to Jay. But there were a lot of moments where, the first read wasn't there, and you see him going through the progression and getting to his second read, took care of the ball. There were very few ball in jeopardy type plays. I thought he made good decisions and looked really poised back there.
Along those lines, he talked about you've been harping on take the easy stuff, and Stein has said that for years since he's been here.
Yeah.
What's that transition like, or that process like, of getting a quarterback to take the easy stuff and don't always go for the chunk play if it's not there?
Well, I just think it's important for coaches to celebrate moments when, it isn't always the highlight reel play, right? And I think that when you're a young player, so often you feel like, hey, this is my opportunity to go make a play, and you almost force yourself to go make plays. And the reality is we need to celebrate the plays that are avoided, right? That could be bad for our team. And we had a lot of young guys play in this last game. I think we had close to 30 guys in our last 2 signing classes out there for us playing, which is huge, right? Speaking of the development and the people that we've been able to add to this roster. But when you have over 70 players playing a game, and then they're all developing and making good decisions, that's exciting.
Yeah, looking ahead to Oklahoma State, with all the coaching turnover there, with all the roster turnover there, what are some of the challenges of scouting a team like that?
Well, certainly a lot of change. I've got a lot of respect for Coach Gundy. The guy's won 170 games. He's been one of the best in the business and adapted with times. I mean, anytime you're able to be somewhere, as long as he's been, I think he's only had 2 seasons where he didn't have, winning seasons in his time there. So that speaks a little bit. Their culture, I think it's derived from him and what they do. They've always been innovative, always been really good on special teams. So I think you have to look at that piece kind of holistically of like what's made those teams good in the past, and then recognize there's some changing parts. There's a new coordinator on offense, new one on defense, some carryover there on special teams, right? But a lot of new faces, but does it still carry the same flavor of what those teams have been in the past? And you're able to study film of where these coaches have come from, what they've done in the past. There's a lot of coaches on their staff that I'm familiar with that are really good. So it's going to be a fun challenge.
Commented on the block that DeCorian had, obviously, on Gary's touchdown. But when you look back and see the 2 that he had on the opening drive, and I'm sure others that you can see on all 22 that we don't on TV, how does that help set a culture in that room, Dan, when a freshman comes in and does that in game 1? And when that, yes, that's part of the job, but freshman.
It's awesome because it's not natural, right? It's not natural. And he did it, but several guys did it in that game. And I'm really proud. We talked about after the game, I'm really proud of the effort that our guys gave. Like, you want to see people play 100 miles an hour. And I thought we had a lot of guys playing 100 miles an hour on Saturday. But the way you block, again, tells me how much you love your teammates. And that guy blocked really hard, right? And there were several guys that blocked really hard on Saturday. And then we found some moments where, some of us were buying a ticket and watching other people make plays instead of blocking, right? And those are the moments we got to continue to get better at and make sure that we're connected at the end of plays. But that was something probably early in the season last year we didn't do as good of a job of, and that was a big emphasis coming into this game. And at times we were going to the right people, at times we weren't, but we were finding ways to be connected at the end of plays, which is huge.
A year ago, it took the offensive line a couple of games to gel because of early injuries. You saw some early injuries in this game, but the offensive line didn't really miss a beat. What do you attribute that to, and how encouraging is that to see for you?
Well, I think, one, it's attributed to the fact that we mix up our O-lines a lot in fall camp and make sure we have different parts there, different pieces, because those moments can happen. So we had guys that played right guard, guys that played left guard, guys that played tackle and guard. I mean, there was a lot of combinations you saw out there. And then, obviously, when you have the game at hand, you want to get experience. But I think you saw that. You saw the variety that gets pitched to our players in, really in practice, and then being able to go out and execute in games.
Despite the number of new players and coordinators in this program, what is the biggest advantage from a scouting standpoint from week 1 to week 2 when you have that full game under your belt that you can really dive into?
Yeah, it's just one game. That's the hard part, and especially when there's a lot of changes ultimately with the staff, so you're looking at one game and realizing that they've got a lot more than that one game, right, that you have to be able to adapt to. And the personnel you feel like you might know, but you really don't have a big enough picture yet to fully grasp who they are. But you do recognize that this team has an identity that we're about to play, right? And that's what shows up. Coach Grantham's defenses have always been really aggressive, really good edge play. That always shows up, some coverage commonalities in the way he does things there and what we do. And on offense, with Coach Meacham and Coach Gundy, they're going to take shots. They're going to spread you out. They're going to move with great tempo. So we get one game to look at, but I don't think it's really a full, glimpse of who they are.
Kenyon and Gary had to break a tackle for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Torian had to hurdle a guy for a first down on a third down. I'm sure running backs broke tackles. What do you make of your team just fighting through contact and getting extra yards or getting touchdowns after contact?
Yeah, we always celebrate that. I think Coach Stein and the offensive staff do a really good job of showing how many yards did we have after contact, in the game. And when we threw that stat up to this morning, going over with the players, it kind of threw me off because it told me that we weren't blocking well enough up front for them to, make those kind of yards initially, right? You'd like to think that you're blocking it well enough that you can go 5 yards without getting touched. But we had a lot of guys breaking tackles and creating, not going down on first contact, which is huge. And I saw that from freshmen all the way up to, veterans that have been playing for us.
How important is a guy like Dave Iuli in terms of being able to flip from one guard spot to the other and maintain the continuity on the offensive line and put everybody in their most advantageous positions?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Dave. I love Dave. He comes out to work every day, always has a smile on his face. He's a pleasure. He's always asking, what can I do to be better for the team? And we have a lot of unselfish play right now on our team, which is so awesome to see with new faces, right? Guys saying, hey, Coach, can I go down to look team and give us a look? Right? People that you'd never expect that from. And that's making us a lot better team, right? Which is awesome. But, Dave has been versatile, and several of those guys on the offensive line have.
We saw E-Man go down with the right knee, go to the locker room, and come back to the sideline. Was there an update as to his status and if he'll be able to go this week?
Yeah, I feel confident he's going to be able to go. He was able to move around a little bit today. So part of it is where the game was at, and us also being able to evaluate it, make sure he's in a great position. But I feel good that he'll be back.
You mentioned that kind of the volume on both sides of the ball was a little bit shorter this weekend. How does that kind of give you an advantage for another team watching film on you guys?
Well, I mean, you can only break down so many plays, right? And we're running the same play over and over again. It's going to make it where there's not as much. And we do. We have a lot of volume. We change week to week. But if you don't reveal everything, then it's hard to prep for what they don't know.
Or what James was saying, I was curious if you get updates on Dylan Gresham and Kavika Rogers and Theron Johnson.
Yeah, Dylan's going to be down for a little bit, precautionary, but he's not able to go right now. Who else did you mention? Theron should be back this week. He was probably in position to where he could have gone and pushed through, but we want to get more practice reps. And then Kavika, we're still figuring that out where he's at. He's moving around the day, ankle deal, but I think he could be back on Saturday, may not be.
You mentioned the difficulties of prepping for a team with so many new guys. They had a quarterback, and then he gets hurt. What do you know about Flores, and how do you prepare for a scenario like that, where they bring in a new guy and then he gets hurt? You have to go after another guy.
Yeah, that's college football, right? So you got to prepare for what you see on film. The system is the system more than it is they're going to completely change what they do as a player. They have complements where the quarterback can run the ball or throw the ball, so they carry that in their system. Might make them a little bit more reserved to run the quarterback, based on that situation. But ultimately, like, you see a player that can play and execute in an offensive scheme that's tough to defend.
You mentioned the familiarity both you and Will certainly have with many members of the staff. As you go about preparing for them, Dan, since you did prepare for Doug's offense in the championship game a couple of years ago, how similar?
I wasn't there. I wasn't at Georgia then when they played at TCU.
Okay, wrong year.
And that was Garrett Riley calling the offense too.
Really?
Dang, James.
I got thrown off.
We got him, boys.
Okay, strike him out, throw him out. Well, yeah. Will has extensive knowledge of half their staff, give or take. Boy, hey, long weekend, man.
You're all right, man. Everything going good? You okay? That happens, man. You don't make a lot of mistakes, so.
It happens. It happens. I'll own it. Will knows a lot of guys over there.
Yeah, I know a bunch of them too, but I didn't coach against TCU in the national championship.
Thank you. I won't live this down. How much does that familiarity for Will with multiple members of their staff? How much does that help?
Yeah. I think the familiarity always helps, right? Like Coach Grantham was at Florida for a long time when I was at Georgia, so got to see that. And there's several guys on their staff that I've been around as well. And then Will was around Coach Grantham at Louisville. Everybody changes and adapts with time. So even what he was doing, this past week is a little bit different than what he did in his time at Florida. But yeah, familiarity certainly always helps.
You got a chance to go back and watch the film. What excited you about the young guys in the cornerback room, especially the two true freshmen, and then also Iffy getting his first start?
Yeah, I think again, I've always said if we have above the line play, we're going to try to make sure that we create roles and create opportunities, and you want that to happen, and you're concerned about what's the anxiety going to be like in the first game. What's this? There's just new moments. Playing football in front of a filled stadium is a little bit different than playing in practice, and I thought those guys executed well.
In one of the fall camp documentary episodes, you highlighted Jay Harris and his pass blocking reps and how much that's improved. He had several of those chances in this game. Just curious the growth you've seen from him and just how encouraging that is.
What was fun is, obviously we have a lot of talent at back right now, right? And a lot of people want to ask questions about that. But what was great is I don't know how many carries Jay had. I know all 7 of our backs had carries, right? Jay was an unbelievable teammate on the sideline. His enthusiasm, his energy, he's helping us on special teams. He was in on the play where, we blocked the punt. He was, he played multiple special teams. He had the big pass catch down the middle. This guy's just focused and worked on getting better and better every single day. And his story is an unbelievable story. You guys don't even realize, some of the stuff that this guy's gone through to get to where he's at right now. So I'm really happy with Jay and the work that he's put in.
Kind of talking about some of those new players, the wide receiver, number 2, Terrell Davis. Just how does their offense kind of highlight him and what makes him a threat when you prepare for this week?
Yeah, this will probably be the team that we've played that takes the most vertical shots down the field, right? To date that we've seen, and probably in my time here, they're going to push the ball down the field, right? A lot of quick passing game and a lot of shots down the field, and he highlights that. They can line up fast. They're going to try to catch you off guard. If you leave somebody single covered, they're going to let their wideouts go have an opportunity to go win and compete down the field for the ball, and he's certainly one of those guys.
Promise it won't be about the 2023 season. For Harky, he certainly graded out well from Pro Football Focus, for whatever that's worth. What stood out to you about his play? He certainly had some blocks even behind the play at times there's a certain nastiness, I would say, to his level of play. What stood out to you?
Well, I think you said it, right? He plays O-line with a nastiness. He wants to finish blocks. He's a finisher. He's a guy that competes every single day. I'm really, really pleased with Alex, and I still think his best football is ahead of him. There's some moments that I think he wants to be able to have back, but you see a guy that's trying to finish people, which is the mentality you want of your offensive line.
I always talk about you want to play as many guys as you can that are playable, but at what point do you shorten the bench and give guys a rhythm and rotations, or do you envision rotating as much as you did all year long?
Well, hopefully we can find a rhythm regardless of what we do, but yeah, that's certainly a part of it. You want guys to be warm when they're in, and to be able to figure that out. So that's a challenge, and that's something you always weigh as a coach.
Jeremiah McClellan was one of their first receivers off the bench on Saturday, but how much does him being able to make an impact on special teams, get some hands on some punts, impact him being able to get on the field on offense as well?
Yeah, one, to start for us on O or D, we expect you to be able to help us on special teams. But J-Mac has been very eager this year to help this team in any way that he can, and obviously he made a huge impact in the game. I think I've said it several times. He had a great fall camp. He's gotten better and better. We showed some clips of him running routes early in fall camp last year in comparison to this year, and it's not the same player. This guy's really improved.
What role does kind of the confidence that your team gained with the performance on Saturday have when you try and build off of that in week 2?
Yeah, I'm not completely sure. I think ultimately when you go out there and you execute, that's going to build confidence in the plan. It's going to show you that the prep matters. We talked about double down before this season starts. Doubling down on the process, it paid off. We're really focused this year on what can we control, right? Not really about the opponent, not about the things that are out of our control. And I think our team's done a really good job of that. And they were as eager as anybody to say, okay, what can we improve on this morning when we met with them?
Mike Gundy spoke quite a bit today and mentioned a lot about how much the resources are here, a lot of spending on the team here, suggested the roster cost $40 million last season, and also said that non-conference scheduling perhaps should be more aligned with budgets. Just didn't know if, with all of those comments, if you had a particular reaction or thoughts about future scheduling or how much there may be a disparity between these programs.
Yeah, it sounds like there is, listening to him talk. Like I said, I got a ton of respect for Coach Gundy. Ultimately, how blessed are we to be in a place that's invested in winning? If you want to be a top 10 team in college football, you better be invested in winning. And we spend to win. Some people save to have an excuse for why they don't, right? And ultimately, he's a great coach. They've done an unbelievable job, but I want to be a team that's competing at the highest level. And we're really fortunate to be in that situation. So I can't speak on their situation. I have no idea, what they got in their pockets over there. I'm sure UT Martin maybe didn't have as much as them last week, and they played. So we'll let it play out.
I've often talked about how your staff likes to watch film each week of football across the country. Did you get a chance to watch any football, anything stand out outside of your game?
Yeah, what you're saying, what plays do we want to?
No, not plays, but just like.
We watched some ball. Yeah, we got to watch some ball. Every week we always pull up explosive play cutups from college football. There's obviously not as much volume, from the week 0 games, but now the end of this week, there was a lot of games played, and we're able to look at those, evaluate some other teams, what they're doing offensively, what are the new trends. I think you always have to challenge yourself to look to see what are the new trends in football, what's going to be really successful, what do you need to be prepared to defend, or what can you add to your arsenal on offense that's going to be tough for other teams to defend. So we watched a lot of ball, right? We're junkies. We enjoy it.
Dan Lanning, Oregon football head coach, getting ready for that 12:30 kickoff at Autzen Stadium on CBS on Saturday. Timeout after a good weekly press conference. The athletic director's here. Rob Mullens next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by one of your local branches today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
We know you turn to the Duck Store for all your game day needs. And for students at the University of Oregon, it's even more. Class supplies, jobs, a seat on our board, a place to take a quick coffee break. Because we're your student-first, non-profit college store, every purchase you make directly supports the very community we serve. From working in our counters to studying in the classroom, from directing our stores to cheering in the stands, the people we serve, students, are the very people who are the Duck Store.
Your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
I'm a pretty great multitasker. I can wash dishes and do laundry. I can roller skate while walking my dog. I can even order lunch while doing my homework. But I can't use my phone while driving. A distracted driver is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. So when it comes to driving, please, don't be a multitasker.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
And here's Heather with the weather.
Well, it's beautiful out there, sunny and 75, almost a little chilly in the shade. Now, let's get a read on the inside of your car. It is hot. You've only been parked a short time and it's already 99 degrees in there. Let's not leave children in the back seat while running errands. It only takes a few minutes for their body temperatures to rise, and that could be fatal.
Cars get hot, fast, and can be deadly. Never leave a child in a car. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I left my heart in Oregon. Oh, I left my heart in Oregon. Yeah, I left my heart in Oregon.
Oregon Athletic Director Rob Mullens with us. It is Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union here in the Country Financial Studio. 1-0 start to the football season, Rob. Pretty darn good, huh?
Great start. And thank you for the warm welcome.
We try.
That gets you pumped up.
Look, you can't walk into the Country Financial Studio and just be like, let's do a show today.
I know. I love the energy.
That's no fun.
And it comes at a perfect time for me. Midday.
Midday.
Second half. Here we go.
Did you have lunch yet today?
I've kind of been grabbing things. I've been walking around the hall, so not necessarily lunch, but I've consumed some calories.
Well, this brings me to the hard-hitting question of the day. We've got a lot of bullet points for the Oregon Athletic Director, but Dave asking, what is your favorite food at Autzen on a game day?
Oh, this was a trivia question at a recent donor event back in the spring, and there was some debate. I gave my answer, but staff was debating. So my favorite is nachos, although some who I work with closely would argue that it should be popcorn.
Okay, so popcorn is the appropriate snack.
Well, the thing is, and we've had this debate, popcorn's just easy, right? When you're nervous. When you're on the go, it's easy. Nachos, it's a little more effort. You gotta have a place.
You need to sit.
Yes, you gotta sit.
Yeah. So that's like when you have which probably doesn't happen for you often.
Right.
When you have the moment to sit down. We've talked before about your like tailgate route.
Yes.
And how you will navigate through such things. So I thought maybe you'd be like, well, it depends on the tailgate.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, listen, Judge Hogan has the Mac Daddy tailgate. And, he always has some fun stuff. Yeah. But, that's the beauty of it, right? There's all kinds of good options. And time of the kick matters, too. Like, a breakfast burrito is awesome.
So I've always said this. I've probably said this when you're on, Rob. To me, the, earlier game tailgate MVP is the breakfast burrito because it is a one-hand option that fills you up. You can still play football in the parking lot. You can still shake hands, give fist bumps, high fives. It's the right choice.
Easily customizable.
Crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
These are the hard-hitting questions. 12:30 kickoff coming up.
Love it. And our fans love it, right? We're going to be under 80 degrees. We've got a Big 12 opponent.
Yeah, how about that?
And a 12:30 kickoff.
Do you remember when this game got scheduled?
Vaguely.
I was trying to go back.
It was a long time ago.
It was. And I was trying to go back, and part of my, I wanted to see if I could find the clip of you and I talking about.
Yeah, we should have looked up
game.
the contract date. It was a while ago. We did a couple of Big 12 series. It was. Yeah, these things get done well in advance.
And it's still going to be that way.
Oh, absolutely. I think so. Yeah.
Because I was curious too. You think about these sorts of matchups, right? These are the power matchups that get people excited in our
Sure, probably at the time. I mean, both teams were easily top 15, maybe even top 10 when we did the matchup. And obviously, Coach Gundy's string of 9 or 10 win seasons is well known. And you look at the great wide receivers that they've had, the number of people they've put in the pros. It's been a phenomenal program.
Yeah. Well, and now to that point, I mean, we're talking about week 2, and I haven't even asked you about week 1. I mean, how was your first game day at Autzen?
It was great. Obviously, fingers crossed that everything works when you turn it on. And, we do test it throughout the week, but for some reason on Saturday, everything gets tested to the max.
Can confirm, yes.
Yeah. But great crowd, great energy. So, yeah, I mean, obviously we always do a debrief after the game on things that we can tighten up. But, again, I think it was a great week 1.
Well, and you talk about, the home field advantage. This is one of many great illustrations of it. It's the longest non-conference home winning streak in the country right now.
No, that is, and when you look at what's coming this week too, is when you move down the line, and I know we're focused on week 2, is these interconference, it's inter, right, not intra. Right. These interconference games are really important because when we get down to figuring out what league is where and how we do the seeding or who's in, who's out. These things they're gonna pop up on the screen for that committee.
Right. And then again, you think about like how much value does it have to have these sorts of programs that match up with each other, right? Because that's part of, we talked about this before, but that's part of your scheduling calculus.
No, absolutely, because in the end, college football is really hard. I mean, we're seeing this debate play out when we talk about the CFP format. Is there a strength of scheduling metric? Well, I mean, there's dozens of them, but there's no perfect one because there just aren't enough head-to-heads. Right. And, in my 4 years on the committee, one thing I learned is there's going to be a group of 3 or 4 teams that are closely aligned, but they don't have any common opponents. They don't play head-to-head, and it becomes really subjective on how to separate them.
Right. The subjectivity always leads to the debate. That's why people like me have a lot to talk about during football season, right? Oregon Athletic Director Rob Mullens, our guest. This is a shout from me. The game is not sold out yet here coming up against Oklahoma State. Let's change that this week.
Yeah, I mean, if we, the top programs have long sellout streaks. And
That's true.
And they create home field advantages. And that's the one thing that we can control is the impact that we have on the game. And this is it's week 2. Every game is important. As we mentioned, it's a Big 12 opponent, and we've got a perfect game time, a national TV crowd, and the weather looks ideal.
We're going to sneak in a timeout. When we come back, a big matchup in Portland for men's basketball to tell you about again, and a few other sports because it's Match Day Eve for Oregon Volleyball returning to Matthew Knight Arena. Keep it here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hear that? The crowd's going wild for all the end of summer fun at Toyota's National Sales Event. Going now until September 2nd. Woo-hoo!
See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Dealer inventory may vary. Toyota, let's go places.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by one of your local branches today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Hear that? The crowd's going wild for all the end of summer fun at Toyota's National Sales Event. Going now until September 2nd. Woo-hoo!
See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Dealer inventory may vary. Toyota, let's go places.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
In sitcoms, when someone has a problem, they just blurt it out and move on.
Well, I lost my job and my parakeet is missing. How was your day?
But the real world is different. Managing life's challenges can be overwhelming. So, what do? We get support. The Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council have mental health resources available for you at loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. See how much further you can go when you take care of your mental health.
Duck Insider presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack joined by Athletic Director Rob Mullens here in the Country Financial Studio. We were just talking about the flow at Autzen Stadium. A new look Leo Harris Parkway made its debut for a lot of people this week.
Looked good.
Looked great.
Looked good, and when you're up in Autzen, you can look out over the new project and get a good view into that too.
Right outside, from Autzen, right? I got to tell you, you had some picturesque moments with the way that the sunset was, the clouds, and you just see this giant crane with a big old flag.
That flag drew a lot of attention.
It really did.
Neat, yeah.
It really did. I heard about the flag from a lot of people. But all in all, a great operation with, we know fans, it is a little bit different around here, and I thought everything went well.
And kudos to the transportation folks. The buses, had to do a little bit of different maneuvering, and they executed it well.
All right. Men's basketball. So you heard me mention at the start of the show, the Ducks will play Gonzaga on December 21st at the Moda Center in Portland. Announced today. Game time, broadcast info coming later. But another men's basketball game in Portland. That is a focus. I will tell you, I know Coach Altman likes doing it. Rob, I know you like being up there.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many elements. Get a chance to play in Portland in the Moda. On a great date. What a great time for that game as people are out and about for the holidays.
I'm excited.
It's a huge matchup. It'd be fun to fill Moda, and just excited that all the people working so hard on that game were able to get it done.
Tickets go on sale on September 11th. There'll be more details on GoDucks.com. Get-in price is less than $40 to go see what could be an awesome holiday event for a family.
Yeah, and when you think about that on a Saturday there with those two fan bases, it's going to feel like a late round NCAA tournament
Could
game.
be a preview of an NCAA tournament
Absolutely could be. And what a fun atmosphere.
Yeah, that'll be cool. So more details on GoDucks.com as the non-conference schedule for men's basketball is coming together.
And that's, when I'm out speaking, I've been asked many times,
when are you going to play Gonzaga?
When are you going to play Gonzaga in the regular season? And here it is.
Yeah. The only time that I have experienced it, was in the Battle for Atlantis.
Right.
It was a heck of a matchup. And I'll tell you, I know that this is what makes, I think, non-conference college basketball so much fun. I understand, football still has a lot of attention, but when you get matchups like this, that's fun.
And it's more important than ever, right?
Yes.
Because what we've seen is the success of college football in the CFP era is the attention doesn't shift till basketball. It feels like until January, maybe even early February. And here we have December, a chance to get locked in on a really marquee matchup.
Now, meanwhile, Oregon Volleyball starting the season 3-0 on the road. Home opener tomorrow night. Nice to be back at Matthew Knight Arena.
It is nice. And, I think kudos to Trent and the team to go on the road and get that experience. A little bonding going on there as well, to come back 3-0 and get a chance to play at Matthew Knight Arena.
We're going to talk with Coach Kersten coming up next segment after the successful trip. I texted him after the first win, and he just responded. He was like, "That's one." And then it was, "That's two." So then I got him on the third day with, "That's three." So it's nice to see that early success.
Yeah, especially when you have a new staff, really, a whole new roster practically. And I know they did a good job of trying different combinations and feeling things out. So, it's fun to see.
Oregon soccer also rolling. The Ducks with Tracy Joyner joining us coming up tomorrow, by the way. I'll tell you, a team, you talk about, again, some new faces that's had to go through a few different rotations. So that's what they're experiencing right now. But the crowd on Sunday was awesome.
It was fantastic.
It was so fun to be there.
Crowd was fantastic. And the team, I think Tracy's done a phenomenal job in acknowledging the process is working. We've had some unlucky shots on goal, and those will start to go at some point. So, we've got 2 losses in, a fraction of an inch here or there, and those are wins. That sport can be cruel.
That's what she said post-match.
Yeah. So just really appreciate the way they're representing us. The process is working, and those balls. Some of those balls are going to get in the back of the net, and we're going to win those matches.
I could feel it when I watching her post-match and then talking to her in the hallway here. You could just feel that sometimes, man, it's just. So cruel.
It is, and it's hard as a coach, right? Particularly when she's doing a great job of building culture and process. Sometimes the results don't show how good the process is.
True.
And sometimes the results trick you, but I think they are doing all the right things, and the results will match a good process.
Cross-country season also, we're there. And since you've last been on, we celebrated Bill Dellinger. Now we have a date for the Bill Dellinger coming up. Cross-country season's here.
Yeah, I know, and that Bill Dellinger meet is always a fun one, right?
Is.
So this is your chance to get out, and it's a great area. There's parking, there's shuttles, lots of fun places to watch the races there. So I always enjoy going out there.
The academic term begins before we have you on next. Here we go.
Here we go. Obviously it's an advantage for us for the fall sports that are competing right now, but then to be able to have to get into housing and make that transition in the middle of a year is something that our coaches and student athletes have to manage. But, yeah, here we are. 25-26 is upon us.
Final thoughts. What else should fans know? What did we miss today?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think, let's keep Autzen rocking. We're learning a lot about this team. It's always fun. In the first game, I think what Dan say, over 70 players got into the contest, which is, after a long off season, an intense fall camp, to be able to see so many people on the field is pretty cool. But yeah, let's fill up Autzen Stadium for Saturday. Big matchup for us, and then show that national CBS crowd what it's like.
Just to illustrate that, if I could leave you with this thought, Rob, I mean, when was the last time you saw this, and how often do you see 4 different quarterbacks take snaps in a game?
We were talking about that after the game, post-game. Very, very rare.
Doesn't happen often.
And they all look great.
Yeah, it does not happen often. I think that just illustrates how deep this team could be. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.
We'll get time out. Come back. Coach Kersten's here, getting ready for volleyball at Matthew Knight Arena after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by one of your local branches today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
When life blindsides you with an injury, you need a team that's tough. For over 30 years, Morgan & Morgan has been fighting for the people. This season, we're proud to partner with Oregon Athletics. Because whether it's on the field or in the courtroom, we're both determined to do what it takes to win. Morgan & Morgan, proud partner of Oregon Athletics. Injured? Dial pound law. Morgan & Morgan, 10150 Southwest 6th Avenue, Portland. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome.
This is Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Snakes, zombies, sharks, heights, speaking in public. The list of fears is endless. But while you're clutching your blanket in the dark, wondering if that sound in the hall was actually a footstep, the real danger is in your hand, when you're behind the wheel. And while you might think a great white shark is scary, what's really terrifying and even deadly is distracted driving. Eyes forward, don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
My name is Ariel. I moved to the U.S. at 19. I spoke no English and I struggled finding job opportunities. Everything I have, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and getting my high school diploma at age 22.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
It's Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio. Breaking news. Trent Kersten, Oregon Volleyball head coach, just texted me and said that he's still at practice, which means we pivot. We'll hear from Coach Kersten coming up ahead of the home opener on Wednesday for the Ducks tomorrow at Matthew Knight Arena. And in the meantime, we've got some post-practice football interviews for you that I was planning on airing tomorrow, and instead, we're going to air them today. You get to hear from the quarterback, Dante Moore. Duck football, how'd they do? I guess we'll find out from Dante Moore.
Dan said yesterday that on that the angle route to Jay that you slid protection away from the loaded side. And what did you see on that slate specifically, and how comfortable do you feel kind of making those checks to the line of scrimmage right now?
Yeah, that was a field pressure look they've done since last year, and during practice it's been tough looks that scout team has given us, and it was kind of sometimes I'll miss it, be hot, but I feel like the whole week we prepare for it, and of course it feels great when you prepare for something during the week, and then on game day it happens and it turns to explosive. So we worked it all week. Jay knew after the protection exactly what he had. Jay's a great running back, great with the ball in his hand, and of course we wish he scored, but he did a great job for sure.
We talked about the Corian's block on Gary's touchdown after the game, but obviously there were quite a few others that he had earlier in the game. One on the first play, one on Dayton's touchdown run as well in the opening drive. When you go back and look at those, just what does that mean to you as the quarterback of this team, that the true freshman's out there doing that multiple times in his first game and just imposing his will like that as a blocker?
Yeah, Coach Lanning kind of tells us we have our 4 pillars, connection, growth, toughness, and sacrifice, and toughness is for sure one of them, and Corey has done a great job. Of course, when he first got here, my bracket kind of looked, favorable for the defensive side when he went up. He had to adjust to how the speed and how the strength of the college game was, and he's done a great job during practice, during my bracket, of getting extra reps and make sure he's pushing himself at practice. So come game time when he's throwing in the fire of having a block on the perimeter, he's done a great job of doing that, and it's kind of something that he's mastered and he's, of course, getting better at, day by day. So it's getting good, and when we block on the perimeter, that's when big plays happen.
Cooper Perry is someone who saw some early action in this game. What have you seen from him through fall camp that kind of warrants his being out there so early on?
Yeah, when he first got here during spring ball, he was probably, I'll say, to be honest, the best player that went through the whole springtime. Just looking at him when it comes to winning routes, when the ball's in the air, him grabbing it, and just the way he is as a receiver, I feel like he was the most, produced during spring, and, he's a great talented receiver. As a quarterback, I trust him. I know where he's going to be at during certain coverages or, be on the same time, and I'm glad that he had a chance to get out there, playing college, his first snaps, and he's done a great job, and I'm blessed him having a teammate.
You said Saturday would have to go to the doctor on Sunday to learn where you guys need to improve. What did you learn specifically for yourself, and kind of what's the next step of growth for you?
Yeah, having that next play focus is kind of, example, like when I got the first down and I was excited and, adrenaline was pumping, and I was fatigued the next play because I was like, so tired and lost a lot of energy, and something that, of course, was exciting during the moment, but, plays like that would happen, but he's got to focus on to the next play. And of course, we did a great job. We did a lot of, meet a lot of our goals, but I feel like my personal growth is probably just saying, lasting through long drives, building my fatigue, and make sure I'm pushing my teammates during the drives.
How much confidence does a performance like you had on Saturday give you heading into a little bit of a tougher test this week?
Yeah, this past Saturday, the way we prepped, the way we just, treated practice like a game, it was kind of that made us help us play better on Saturday. But upcoming this week, nothing's going to change. I feel like at practice, we're going to push ourselves to better ourselves, and I feel like, at practice, you push yourself to a certain point, a certain standard that on Saturday it should look a certain way. So nothing's going to change. I know it's a different opponent, but the standard's going to be the standard.
Yesterday, Dan said that Alex Harky is a finisher and plays with a little bit of a nastiness to him. What do you see from him on the field, and what does that look like to you?
Yeah, I remember when he first was visiting during his portal, when he was in the portal, and when I first was talking to him, he just, it was hard to talk to at first. You can tell he's a tough guy. He's somebody you can trust and for sure block on the perimeter. But, during practice, he's pushing himself. He's sweating, exhausting himself. But, of course, at practice, he's just going to push himself to that on game day when it comes. It's kind of easy for him. And he made a lot of great blocks. I, trust him with my life out there on the edge, and he's a great player. I'm glad to have him.
After getting a chance to go back and watch the film, how'd you feel like the execution went on that 2-minute drill at the end of the first half that led to the touchdown to Malik?
Yeah, 2 minutes huge. As a quarterback, you want to get thrown in as much situations as possible, and Coach Lanning has done that at practice. He's made sure that he's given us a lot of chances. 2 minutes is offense, and there's been times we did really great. There's times we did really terrible. There's been times where I got cussed out really bad by him, and made sure that I just learned from my mistakes. And when it comes to game time, I feel like that was a clean drive. We made sure that we had the right plays dialed, and I feel like a great execution at the end.
I know he didn't play last week, and I don't know if he'll play this week, but what will it be like to go up against Jalen Davies again? And what have you seen from the rest of this defense, albeit in a small sample? I'm sure you look back at some of Grantham's defensive tape.
Yeah, Jalen, man, I mean, I love him to death. You know, he was somebody I always, communicated with when I was out there in L.A. You know, he's a great guy, great player. I'm excited to see him, but, when it comes to him being on the perimeter, when it comes game time, he's going to be my enemy. So I got to kind of, have no love for him within the white lines. But after the game, we're going to text, talk about him. But he's a great guy. He's a great competitor, and I can't wait to play him.
Dan said that J-Mac's gotten significantly better since he arrived last year. Where have you seen that growth, and what kind of his impact be for this team?
Yeah, the growth I would probably say is he's got more to the point where he's texting and blowing my phone up now, wanting to get extra work. I mean, last year, before spring ball and before fall camp, I always go down to Dallas to train, and I kind of, brought it up to him like, hey, come down to Dallas, come catch and come train. And he was like, okay, bet. And this year, he was kind of like, when are we going to Dallas? And it was kind of like, hey, I don't got the trip planned yet, but I'll get a plan for us. And he's done a great job as one to work. I mean, he's got way stronger, way faster, and, his hands are incredible. Of course, he's a great, talented player, and I'm glad to have him as a receiver.
How much do you as a quarterback love having a guy like Dave Iuli out there who, when you do have an injury, he can flip from one guard spot to the other and still keep you comfortable in the pocket?
Yeah, Dave's a great competitor. I mean, of course, him on, in the front five is a great, offensive lineman to have. He's, him be able to flip from both sides is a great thing. But, of course, you want everybody to stay healthy. But Dave is, a vet. He knows how to communicate. He knows how to, sacrifice for the team, and I'm glad to have him.
You've talked a couple times now about being cussed out by Lanning, after certain situations. How do you respond to that type of input in coaching?
Yes, coach. That's all I can say. I mean, it's needed, though. I feel like a lot of players, when they get that type of fire under them at practice, they like to crawl into a shell. But I've been through it. My freshman year, I've been through a lot of things that happened to me, getting thrown in the fire. But I love it. I love it because that means he loves me, he cares for me, and that he wants to coach me. And that's what I signed up for.
You talked about the anticipation and the build-up and the 2 years to get back to Saturday. What has the last 72 hours been like when it's done, when that part of it's done? And now, yes, you got everything you wanted insofar as you're back in this role, and now it's happening.
Yeah. After the game, it was, good to celebrate with my family. Of course, my dad cooked, and we had a great dinner, and we just, kicked it as a family. But I feel like the next day was kind of, a reset, preparing for Oklahoma State. Just watch the film, watch how I can get better. But it was good to celebrate within the 24 hours. But it was, new opponent, new week, and got to attack the ground going.
Now that you've kind of now had this start under your belt at Oregon, what would 2025 Dante Moore say to 2023 Dante Moore, who didn't really have all that success?
Smile. Don't care about other people's opinions. Be you.
That's Dante Moore, Oregon football quarterback. You got to like the answer, though. Talk about growth mindset. You have to like the answer that there's still things to work on. Even celebrating a first down is something that he wants to now work on moving forward. Like, how do we get to that next play? He says all the right things. Offense performed well. I'm looking forward to talking with Will Stein, Duck offensive coordinator, as part of our pregame show that'll be on the air at 10:30. Coming your way from Autzen Stadium on Saturday. We're going to take a break and come back, talk a little more football, maybe hear from Alex Harky, offensive lineman, after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial.
Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
More Duck Insider coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Adoption of teens from foster care is a topic not enough people know about, and we're here to change that. I'm April Dinwiddie, host of the new podcast, Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Each episode brings you compelling real-life adoption stories told by the families that live them with commentary from experts. Visit adoptuskids.org/podcast or subscribe to Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families and the Ad Council.
My mom has taken up going to the park to practice yoga.
My dad's going to a club, but not a book club, a salsa club.
Finding new hobbies comes with age.
My mom has started getting lost and not knowing where she's going.
Becoming lost or disoriented doesn't. Confusion with time or place may be a sign of Alzheimer's. An early diagnosis can help improve the quality of life for your loved one. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Final segment of Duck Insider today, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. I'm Joey Mack here in the Country Financial Studio. Heard from Dante Moore. Now let's hear from an offensive lineman in Alex Harky. Dan Lanning called him a finisher during that press conference that you heard earlier. I liked Alex Harky's answer to a question about that. Talking offensive line with Alex Harky.
Yesterday, Dan called you a finisher online. People have described you as a bully when blocking. What is that like for you? What's that mentality like for you when you're out there blocking?
Definitely feel good to hear from Dan Lanning. Of course, looking back at the film, there's a lot of plays I feel like I kind of took the cheap route to bully someone. So going forward this week and the weeks coming up, I feel like it's something I got to work on. It's like clean finishes where I'm not just throwing someone, I'm actually driving them to the ground.
Sure, a lot of offensive linemen play with that level of nastiness to some point, Alex, but where does that come from for you? Because you can go back to some of the Texas State tape. Obviously, you had some of those finishes, but when you chuck a guy on a run play behind the play by the shoulders, how does that feel and where does that come from?
Definitely, at schools prior, I felt like I kind of just did my job, and that wasn't cutting it for what the next level or what my coaches even were noticing. So I felt like to throw someone on the ground or just to pile someone up is what's going to catch a non-footballer's eye. I'm just trying to grab all the attention I can, honestly, to go to the next level.
How easy was it this offseason with a lot of new faces to build that camaraderie with your offensive linemen?
It's definitely not easy at all. I feel like you go through trials and errors with each person. You got to figure out each person, who they are and how they work, because the same formula doesn't work for each person, I would say.
Pretty common to see an offensive lineman pancake a guy, but what's the offensive line room thinking when they see the film of Decorian or Kenyon doing the same thing what you guys do?
It sets a standard for us, because if they can do it, definitely we need to be doing it, because that's our only job. That they're part-timers, we're full-timers.
Go back to a few years ago, Alex. Just takes into the part of moving from tight end to tackle, and just what went into that physically, mentally, at that part of the stage and late in high school to do that, and in junior college to do that.
So I've always been good at run blocking, but the pass pro is what really took me for a dance, I guess you could say. That was my most challenging part to transition. It was kick setting.
You guys do have a guy go down and then the guy next to you flipping from one side of the line to the other. How are you guys able to still maintain that communication and to keep Dante clean?
In spring ball and camp, I would say we had a set group of guys until the end of camp. So we've always interchanged everyone, switched everyone up left to right, and so I feel like there wasn't really we skipped a beat. We all had chemistry with everyone, so it was pretty natural for us.
Have you and Will talked at all about the old Hayes and Lake Travis days, and just take me back to that senior year, man? Because I say, hearing about how you came on late and options really weren't there for you at that time. But have you talked to him about some of those games from back in the day?
Honestly, man, there's not much to talk about. You look at the scoreboard, it wasn't too great for us. So I can't really say much to him except if I wasn't doing good, I was probably getting thrown out the game, realistically. And I was just upset with the scoreboard and all that. So it kind of if anything, it helped me grow as a person, not to tweak out if we're losing or not,
There's a lot of anticipation going into your first game in Autzen. What was the experience like, finally being able to play there with fans?
It was like, we got like a little taste during the spring ball game, so it wasn't as big as a transition, especially coming from another Power 5 prior. So, but it was definitely like an experience to be a part of. It was like, I think it was going in the second quarter, and I'm just like, we're on the sideline talking up right before we're about to go on the field as an offense, and I'm just like, taking a good look around, and it's like, it's really amazing what y'all got going on over here.
When you left Colorado to go to Texas State, and you're basically going home at that point, what was going through your mind? Not so much going there, but like, there's a lot of trust there to go back and play in a situation where, Shoemaker brings in all his guys, and when the goal is to get back here, when you're probably not going to get a great shot to do that at first, like when that's the goal and the intent, were you concerned that you may not be able to get here because of how things were shaken up at first?
Honestly, like, it was just tough mentally to come down from the Power 5 level at the time to the Sun Belt. That was my biggest struggle. I wasn't really concerned about who he was bringing in because I know it was a new coaching staff and they were all bringing in someone, big transfer portal guys. But I honestly never thought I'd leave. I thought I'd finish out the year prior and then go to the league. But just like looking back at it, like, I made the right decision to come here and then give another year and prove myself.
When you're facing an FCS team that doesn't necessarily have the same level of athletes in the trenches that you're going to face the rest of the season, how do you learn from that and apply that to when you are going to face those tougher tests later on this year?
Them being smaller than the guys that I usually face, like Mateo and Tatum, like, it's the biggest thing was them having natural leverage and me trying to keep my pad level low. And if I didn't, like, they would just get on my pads, and then I felt like I got pushed back too much. That was the biggest problem I had.
For Saturday, just what have you seen from 95 on tape from this past game in particular?
Are you talking about
for Oklahoma State?
Yeah, big power guy. I mean, they're big guys. I believe 95 is 340, and we're just gonna have to get low and then work on our combos to take them to the linebacker. That's really what it is.
That's Alex Harky. I really enjoyed his answer about, leverage and how important that is, because when you're playing against somebody on a defensive front that is smaller than you, you have to work on that leverage. You talk about pad level, getting low. Now you maybe jump up in a competition level, and guys that are 340 pounds, like Alex Harky just alluded to for Oklahoma State, and things are a little different when you talk about the leverage on the offensive line and where your hands need to be, where your feet need to be, and the position that it takes. I thought it was interesting, just hearing how it's a little different. Similarly, a little different team in terms of how they run offense. We'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow here on the show. We'll get Trent Kersten, Oregon Volleyball head coach, here because they practiced. That's what they have to do before a home opener match against an in-state team. I'll tell you about that coming up. Oregon Volleyball opens the season tomorrow. Thanks again to Rob Mullens. See ya.
Man, I love my kids so much. I once sat for 3 hours in the cold rain to watch her soccer team lose by 18 goals.
I love my kids so much. I once used it